Hello everyone, this is Deepak Chopra from the Dot Connector. Today, I'm very happy and excited to invite one of our special guests, Morgan Kuchar. She is an HR consultant in the company called Deco HR. She is one of the best phenomenal human being working in this industry from last 6 years. And she is a golfer also. She is a yoga practitioner also, and providing lots of great solution to all those companies out there whenever they have anything to deal with their HR requirements. And the intention of this session is people out there who are newcomers, who are immigrant, or even people who are born and raised here, if they are into the job market, if they are looking for a job search. So Morgan gonna share such a valuable information in this session. You can enhance the probability and possibility to get that job by following the steps which she'll be sharing this session tonight. So rather being going further, let me introduce Morgan Kuchar. So Morgan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Deepak. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your kind intro. It's very nice. Thank you.
I really like to request if you can please share in detail about you, because nobody can give best intro about your own self.
Okay, well, a little bit about me. I am a human resources professional, a consultant with DACO Human Resources Consulting. I have been working in the human resources field for about 6 years. I've worked with a lot of different companies, oil and gas, digital marketing, and I like to help companies sort of sift through the noise and help them find appropriate HR solutions for their businesses. I also like working with folks on, how they can sort of better themselves in the job market as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, Morgan, this is the only intention for this session. I remember when I spoke to you on the other day and I, shared my intention, this is what I'm going to create. And I really want to acknowledge you and thank you, very generously you accepted my invitation and you're giving your valuable time. And I shared that information, like this session is coming on my social media yesterday, and we got a lot of questions which I shared with you this morning, and you put it together very nicely in a presentation. I'm sure you're gonna running that presentation during this session, which will be enabling us to answer all those questions which our people are having in their mind when it comes to the job search. So Morgan, why don't we just get started and we can, see whatever other questions we are getting, along the way, and we can go from there.
Sounds wonderful. I will get organized here and share my screen so we can get going.
Awesome.
Perfect. Canada. It's hard to leave your home country and come someplace new. So I hope that you're feeling welcome and that this recording provides you with some good, valuable information to help you get started. So we'll start by talking about the employment market in Canada. Lots going on right now. Employers are experiencing a very candidate-driven market. There's lots of openings, but only a handful of top candidates for those jobs. So what that means is these candidates are the ones with the advantage. We see there's a stronger advocacy for folks to speak up for themselves and to gain certain benefits and alternative working arrangements. We're also seeing a big upward trend in wages across provinces as employers need to be more competitive and compete for that top talent. So as you can see here, as of March, there were, well over 800,000 open job vacancies. And we're seeing most of this in education and healthcare, social assistance. As well, you can see like the average hourly earnings across the country right now, we're looking at over $32 an hour, which in, recent years, that's quite a good uptick. This is a great example of a standard recruitment process in Canada. Not every employer is going to look the same, but that being said, this is a really good, overview of what you can expect to see. Before we go any further, I guess, are there any major questions about the recruitment process in Canada from looking at this information?
I think Morgan is going to share that, and then definitely, we can have more information around that.
Perfect. All right. So a lot of the questions that I get from folks is, where on earth do I even start? I have no idea where to even look, where to go. So these are some great examples of where you can look at to apply for work, for a job. So agencies, recruitment agencies like Randstad, Manpower, they're really great places to look for if you want something permanent or temporary, or you're not even really sure what specifically you want to look for. At the same time, job posting websites, get on that Indeed, Glassdoor, LinkedIn even. There's tons of postings out there for whatever kind of relative job you're looking for, and employers like to check those electronic sources because it's easy for them. As always, though, there's nothing wrong with just a job fair. Go to a job fair, see what's there, hand out some resumes, and same thing with just a good grassroots going to businesses and seeing what they have available. Those are some excellent places to start. So when we talk about employment, we talk mostly about like how to get started and looking at your resume. This is a really great place to market yourself, market your skills, and talk about you and what your experience has been. Best advice I can give to start: be clear in your language, for sure. Identify, what you've done, where you've been, and how you've kind of gotten there to talk about your experience as an employee. Simple language, and get across your qualifications. What makes you the best candidate for the job? And of course, make sure you try to tailor your resume for the job that you're looking for. If you've got lots of experience as an accountant, talking about how you're great as a welder probably isn't really the best way to go. Again, are there any questions about initially looking at your resume?
Yes, Morgan, you really described it so well. Tailor your resume. This is very important. I remember when I came to this country 12 years ago in 2010, and I attended one session with, I think, Mennonite Center, which is Welcome Center for Newcomers. So there was one, employee over there, and she is amazing. Like, she really guided us so well. She said, always focus on the skill set which they are asking about the job responsibilities of that particular profile. You don't have to manipulate it for sure, but definitely in our previous experiences, we have so many areas where we develop ourselves, but you need to look around what that particular job application is looking for, and then simply put focus more on that, so that the HR from that company can see that easily, and they can call you for interview. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
No, that's excellent advice, definitely. And that's good advice I would give absolutely anybody who's job seeking. Definitely showcase what the employer is looking for. Absolutely. All right. So more about your resume. Employers and business people are usually focusing on numbers. They want to see quantification of your achievements. So the example I have on this slide, I increased sales. Okay, by how much? Did you just a little bit? Did you a lot? Showing and using numbers when you're quantifying your achievements, great way to show employers I'm really good at what I do. At the same time, you want to also talk about your education. If you have spent the time and the money to get educated, show it off. Any education is an asset, for sure. Any degrees, any special courses, relevant or not relevant, it shows a committedness to improving yourself. So why not talk about it? And then, of course, just a little blurb about some stuff that's not necessary. Employers don't need to know a date of birth or marital status or any of that personal information. They just want to know what makes you the best person for this job.
Yeah.
Any questions about this kind of information on the resume, or does it all pretty much, it jives, it makes sense?
No, I think you covered all those questions which came around for this slide. Yeah, we can move on.
Awesome, good. Just some other tips, above anything else, be honest. If you didn't do something that they're asking for, that's okay. But showing that honesty on your resume is always the best way to go. There's nothing worse than saying you did do something and then being found out that you don't have that experience. Never a good scenario. Never, ever a good scenario. So here's an example of a really strong resume. In my opinion, this is a really great layout. It's a good way to showcase experience and education. My only complaint is I don't know what year he graduated for his education. But other than that, I think this is an excellent layout and a good example resume that anyone can kind of take and modify with their own information. If you look and you go and Google example resume, lots of great examples show up, especially if you're looking for something specific. You can always look and Google example resume accountant. They'll give you lots of great examples for that as well.
Absolutely. And moreover, they can reach out to us and we can always share via email that template also.
Absolutely. Yes. If anyone wants this specific example sent to them, can totally send it along.
Awesome. Let's go next.
All right. The interview. Okay. You have made it through all the noise and you have been selected to come and meet with the company. That's fantastic. So the interview is an awesome way to get first impressions, not only for the company to meet you, but for you to meet the company as well. It's just as important that the company shows you why you want to work there. So take that approach as well when you're coming in there to do that interview. Don't just think about, oh, they're going to, look at me and judge me or anything like that. Think of it as a way that you're interviewing the company too, because they need to show you why you want to be there as well. Punctuality, of course, very important. Be on time or early. Always a good first impression for that. And, you make your first impressions in the first second. So at the end of the day, punctual, polite, just show off your best self. And at the end of the day, the company is interested in you. So be confident in your skills and your abilities because they chose you because they think you're the best for the job. Any questions on the interview stage?
No, good so far. Thank you.
Excellent. No, that's fantastic. All right. Pre-employment. After the interview, companies will sometimes want to, add some extra stuff onto their recruitment process. It could be a second interview or a third interview. They want you to meet other members of the team. References, they want to talk to other past employers to see what you are like as an employee. Or there's things like pre-employment testing, which depending on the position, could be a drug and alcohol test, could be a driver's test, could be even just a skills assessment to see how good you are at a particular computer program like Microsoft Excel. But these are different things that you can expect to see after your interview. Employers are starting to want to dive deeper into the person before they move to hire. All right, your resume has been looked at. You've made it through the interview. You've made it through other pre-employment testing. You've gotten to the offer letter stage. So the employer has said, I want you. We want you to come work for us. This is great. So you've been selected for the job. You've been presented with an offer of employment. The best advice I can give when you're looking at an offer of employment to protect yourself and make sure that you know what you're getting into is to make sure that they have the information listed here. A job title. What are you doing? You want to know that you've got the job. Your start date or an end date if it's only temporary. Who do you report to? How much are you going to make? And your hours of work. At minimum, your employment letter should have this information because you want to know what you're getting into. Another important information, of course, is do they offer benefits? Are you eligible for anything else? Do they have, some other perks or good things that come with this job? This should all be in your offer letter. Did we get any questions about the offer letter stage? Anyone have anything specific they want to know?
So Morgan, in most of the cases when people go for a job interview or maybe for the second step or any other kind of test as you mentioned, and sometimes companies HR personnel they ask you or will reach out to you, and they don't advise you any specific time and when they'll be able to reach out to you. So what is the best way for follow-up? Should they call second day, next day, 1 week? How much time one can wait to follow up with HR people?
See, that's a tricky question because every department, has their own level of busyness and every individual has their own level of comfort on when they want to hear back. My personal rule of thumb is if I don't hear anything by 3 days, I like to follow up and just say, hey, I had a great interview. I really enjoyed meeting you. Do you need anything more from me? Can I expect anything in the near future? And rightfully, an employer should give you some kind of a time frame on when they expect to reach out to you, be it, the end of the next week or whatever that kind of looks like. But to answer the question in short, my personal preference, 3 days. Follow up if you haven't heard anything after that.
Got it. Perfect. And another challenge, even if I recall my memories, when I was applying for the jobs, like, sending tons of resumes every single week, but not getting any interview call. So what would you think be the reason for that? And how should one can overcome from this situation if they're applying for any job, at least they get the opportunity to be interviewed? So any suggestion around that, Morgan, with your experience?
That one's a tough one too. A lot of the time, in my personal experience, if individuals are sending in lots of resumes and they're not getting contacted by the employer, it could be the employer is just inundated with resumes and they're having a hard time sifting through them, or the individual just unfortunately is not qualified for that particular job. Now, I'm not ever going to discourage a candidate from reaching out to an employer to say, hey, I sent in a resume. I just like to follow up. Personally, I think that's great because it shows me that you have initiative. And at the end of the day, if you're not qualified for that position, then at least you know. Hopefully the employer would say to you, yeah, we got your resume. It looked fantastic, but unfortunately, we're hoping to find something else, or we're going in a different direction, or whatever that looks like. At the end of the day, it comes down to being resilient and not giving up. Sometimes employers just aren't able to get there.
Yeah.
If
Sure.
that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, you're very welcome. If
Sure.
that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So special occupations, doctors, lawyers, engineers, sometimes it takes a little bit more to practice in Canada. You need to be approved, for lack of a better expression, by the Canadian regulatory body that governs that role, that job. So I'm talking about, the Medical Council of Canada, various different kinds of engineering professional associations. Sometimes you will need to connect with that regulatory body before you're eligible to practice in Canada. Just something to keep in mind if you're coming to Canada from another country or organization and you're not sure where to get started. And lastly, just a quick summary, it's a hot employment market right now, lots of open jobs, but it is also very candidate driven. So feel free to be choosy about where you go and where you apply, and make sure that it's something that you're also happy with as well. When writing your resume, clear, concise, focused language, be honest about your qualifications and showcase what you've done. Show off that you've accomplished different things in your career. At the interview, punctual, prepared, polite, and take it as an opportunity also to interview that company. Make sure that it's a place that you actually want to work and want to be. Be prepared for additional pre-employment. It can happen. Just know that it's a possibility. Read your offer. Ask questions before you sign. Always ask questions. And not all jobs are directly transferable, so be prepared to look into a regulatory body. Are there any questions we've missed? Is there anything more I can talk about? Any more information that folks are looking for?
I think you put it really very nice summary together, Morgan, and definitely you can always share from your own experiences. Is there anything any employee should keep in mind or in consideration while applying for a job? Even I can share a couple of things when I was in the process. So someone told me finding a job is also a job. If you are
Yes.
not applying for jobs from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, it means you're not doing job search. And he told me very specifically, you should be doing following activities from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Number one, checking on internet and applying for jobs on different websites, or going to see all those HR companies in person like yours, or maybe door knocking to the employers, just going company to company, office to office. I'm talking about that happened like 12 years ago when COVID was not a concern, but I know sometimes there are some restrictions after COVID era. So but still I think people would appreciate if we can make a phone call and simply just ask for help. I can share a little bit of my experience. I went to Hudson Bay for the retail company. I was having clothing experience from back home, Morgan. So I simply went there and I asked the front desk people, I just need to meet the general manager of the store. Then they said, if you want to apply, please, this is the form, fill it up, and we can, take it from there. I said, no, I am not here for the job, but I just need his 5 minutes to get some suggestion, to get some advice.
Mhm.
And somehow I made it through, and I went to his cabin. So he was generous enough to allow me to come see him. I simply asked him, I told him, you know what, I'm having, his name was Barry, he's from Hudson Bay, I think St. Albert Trail. So I asked him, Barry, I'm having experience in clothing company, which is a manufacturing unit. But unfortunately, I didn't see any manufacturing unit here in Canada. So I see most of the companies are retail sector oriented. So what would you suggest, since you are into this industry for so many years, and I'm from the clothing industry? And he was very impressed by the approach I, used to see him. So he said, I am also planning to start a new men's division for the, suits and everything, and I think you'll be a perfect fit for that. So he took my resume, and even he asked his HR team to make some phone calls back home in India to get some sort of reference check, and he offered me a job.
That's
Though
fantastic.
though I was I got selected by other company which was more inclined towards the profession I was looking for, but I'm thankful enough to that gentleman who basically acknowledged my that bold approach to just see him for 5 minutes and getting some advice how I should start looking to build a new career here in this country. So yeah, I think that is also very phenomenal. You guys can always reach out to those different employers. Sometime doing your volunteer work in any company or in any profession where you want to see yourself is also a good opportunity. And once you volunteer there or you are intern there, you can always get some job opportunities.
Absolutely. Yes. Internships, great way to start, especially to get your foot in the door. Another way is sometimes even just starting from the bottom up. Lots of places are looking for things like general laborers or shop hands, and it could open the doors to a whole brand new career. You could start as a shop hand in a mechanic shop, decide you want to get your apprenticeship. Next thing you know, a year or two down the road, you could be foreman of that shop. It's all about getting out there, putting yourself out there, and not being scared to try something new. Even if it's not, where you initially started your career, it could open a door to something completely different.
Another incident I would like to share, Morgan, like,
Hmm.
what are the other challenges people do, come across with when you take your resume to all those HR companies or all those, industries or, offices,
Mhm.
they ask you for Canadian experience, and you are new to this country. You don't have any Canadian experience. So how we can deal with this situation?
That's a tough one. A good way to get started in that, again, is looking at things like internships, volunteering, even if it's an entry level job at someplace else, just to kind of get started. It's where you can find a good place to get your foot in the door. And at the same time, I'll be totally honest, sometimes employers might need to just sort of take a step back and think about, okay, what else can this person bring to the table outside of just specifically Canadian experience? Because just because you maybe don't have sales experience strictly in Canada does not mean that you're not a good salesperson. But sometimes it's just a matter of finding a good spot to get that foot in the door.
Morgan, can you please stop sharing your screen so that we can see you also, and we can ask questions, and we can go from there. So
Absolutely.
anything else which you think is valuable information which you want to throw in?
Yes, actually, I know for myself from the employer side, it is a challenge if we have a great candidate and we call them, but they don't answer their phone or they don't return our call. So at the end of the day, if you get a call from an employer, just take a minute, give them a call back, even if you found something else, even if you got another job, just let us know, hey, I found something else. And we'll be like, okay, great. But if you don't answer us or you don't, give us a call back, how can we talk to you? We can't hire you that way.
Okay, no, that's really very useful information. And Morgan, what do you suggest? Like, what are the main important sectors which are generating jobs? I noticed in your very first slide you mentioned there are
Mhm.
somewhere around 800,000 jobs available in Canada. Do you
Mhm.
have some data like what those sectors are where there is a huge demand for employment?
Well, the biggest demand right now that I've noticed statistically and from the reports is in education, healthcare, and social services. Here in Alberta, where I'm at, a lot in oil and gas, looking for that entry level individual who's willing to just come in, get some good work done, and have something stable, and then work their way up through the company. So, any kind of general labor type of work. Again, I mentioned the shop hand. We're looking for things like, could be an apprentice mechanic, it could be just a production worker. If you enjoy coming in and working with your hands, Alberta's full of those types of jobs for sure. Or, if you have a ticket from another country, let's say you're a pipe fitter from another country, come on over and see where you're needed. Those blue collar jobs are definitely big here in Alberta.
Yeah, I think those skill jobs can easily challengeable also. Like, if you have a ticket from back home, you can always challenge here and they will just
Yes.
simply ask you to do some sort of practicum or test or something like that. And you will
Mhm.
get equal education, eligibility here also. You can start
Correct.
your career. Yeah.
Yes, correct. You'd have to talk to the apprenticeship training board, but you are able to challenge exams and you are able to go and look through that stuff. That's a good regulatory body for those specialized occupations. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing also, I remember when I was having that challenge, like, I was looking for some jobs in, office kind of environment, but they were asking me any Canadian experience. Then I started my first job from Wendy's by
Hmm.
flipping burgers. And I worked there for, I think, good 2 or 3 weeks. Then I worked as a security guard also for 1 month. But after that, when I applied for another company, when this so I worked in Wendy's and I worked as a security guard. Sometimes Canadian experience does not mean into the same industry. It can be in any job because employer just wanted to make sure you know the Canadian work culture very well.
Yes, correct. That's very correct. Yeah. That's again, don't hesitate to walk around and go to those entry level positions. If you're able to spend 6 months, working as a shop hand and you can get your way into an office admin type of position, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I always, when I talk to any newcomers or any immigrant, I always suggest them this thing. When you land in this country, give yourself at least month and a half, or maybe 2 months to find out what you're passionate about. Maybe similar job what you had in your, back home country, because so that you don't regret you didn't try for that.
Mhm.
And if in 2 months you don't get whatever you are deserving or whatever you're looking forward, get something close by or anything so that putting food on the table is not a challenge.
I
And
think that's
be
fantastic advice.
and be clear in your head. This is not your final destination. Then start working backward, like and Canada is such a great country. You can always start a new career here. I was doing different kind of job profile I was having back home. I was export manager, like working in company who used to make t-shirts and sweaters and track suits, like clothing industry.
Mhm.
But here in Canada, especially in Edmonton, Alberta, we didn't have any manufacturing units here. So I had to start my career all over again. But fortunately, I landed up into airline catering company and I worked there as operation manager. And then I started my career as a real estate agent and now I'm running my brokerage. So you never know. Maybe you have, a different career in your destiny. So always reach out to different professionals and, read and study about different kind of career opportunities. Maybe you can find your interest in any other field if you are not getting anything which you have done back home.
Then you know what? That is fantastic advice. And actually, one of my personal best piece of advice to give any job searcher who's looking to potentially make that career change. Vera Wang made her first dress at 40 years old. So it's never too late to start a new career or to expand on something that you're passionate about. That's fantastic advice. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So Morgan, if anybody who is watching this interview want to reach out to you, would you please share your contact information?
Absolutely. So the best way to get in touch with me would be through email, which I can be reached at mkucher@daeco.ca. So that's MKUCHER at daeco.ca for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any last minute closing remarks you want to share, Morgan?
Not explicitly, just best of luck to anyone out there, and don't give up. Don't give up.
Absolutely. So, Morgan, I really thank you on behalf of all my teammates. Like, there are a lot of efforts they're putting it behind by shooting these videos and then editing it and putting that on, the social media channels. And the only intention and agenda for us to do this activity is just to make a difference, one step at a time. So I know there are so many amazing people who helped me when I came to this country, and I think this is our way to give back to community. And I especially acknowledge you for accepting our request and giving your valuable time this evening and sharing such a great information with our audience. So thank you, Morgan. Thank you once again. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, you too. Before I go, also, if anyone wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, don't hesitate to use that platform either. It's very valuable.
Wonderful. So guys, if you have any question for Morgan, you can also reach out to us, info@deepakchopra.ca. Feel free to bring your questions. I'll be more than happy to connect you with herself and other members of her company. They are one of the prestigious organization in this city, so they'll be very helpful in helping out in your jobs. So thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.